Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open the security promises of those tools that millions of us, probably you included, trust with our entire digital lives. Password managers.
Let's just start with a problem that we all have. Password overload. I mean, think about it. Right now, the average person is juggling somewhere between 100 and 200 passwords. It's impossible for a human brain to remember all of that, which is exactly why password managers swooped in to save the day.
So, to really get what's going on, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at that big security promise they all make. Then, we'll dive into a crack that some researchers found in that promise. We'll even go inside a theoretical heist, figure out what the real risk is to you, and finally, talk about what happens now.
So yeah, password managers really did feel like the heroes of the story, didn't they? They gave us this super simple, really elegant way to deal with all our password chaos. And it was all built on one very powerful security promise.
And at the heart of that promise is this concept called zero-knowledge encryption. It's actually a pretty brilliant idea. Basically, your passwords get scrambled up on your computer or your phone before they ever get sent to the company's servers. This means the provider has, literally, zero knowledge of what your passwords are. All they're holding is a locked box that only you have the key to.
And this quote from Dashlane pretty much sums up the sales pitch. They're saying, hey, even if we get hacked, even if our servers are completely compromised, the bad guys can't get your passwords. Why? Because you and only you have the master password to unlock that box.
But what if that promise has some really fine print? Well, a new study from a team of security researchers in Switzerland decided to put that zero-knowledge promise to the absolute ultimate test.
They asked this critical, and let's be honest, kind of terrifying question. What if the hacker isn't just trying to break into the building? What if the hacker already owns the building and is running the whole show? In the security world, this is a worst-case scenario, and looking at the problem this way, well, it changes everything.
And what they found, well, it was startling. By running this simulation, they found a whole bunch of vulnerabilities in 3 of the biggest names out there. 12 in Bitwarden, 7 in LastPass, and 6 in Dashlane. Now, to be crystal clear, these aren't flaws a random hacker on the internet could find. These are vulnerabilities that can only be used if the server itself turns against you.
And this is the bottom line. As one of the researchers, Matilda Beckendell, put it, the promise was always that a server breach shouldn't matter. But what their work showed is that under these very specific malicious server conditions, that promise could actually be broken.
So how in the world would this actually work? Let's go inside this theoretical heist and see exactly how a compromised server could be used to steal your keys. This isn't about brute force. It's way sneakier than that.
Okay, so here's the play-by-play of one of their most clever attacks. Step 1. The attacker controls the server. Now let's say you're invited to share passwords with the team. Your app pings the server and says, hey, I need the public key to join. But the server, now run by the bad guy, does a little switcheroo. It sends back a fake key. Your app has no idea. It trusts the server, so it uses that fake key to encrypt your master password and sends it off. And boom, just like that, it's game over. The attacker has your master key and can unlock everything.
And that wasn't the only trick they found. There were other ways to abuse that trust between your app and the server. For instance, a malicious server could just tell your app, hey, use this older, much weaker encryption. Or in another wild attack, it could swap the encrypted data for a website's URL with the password. Your app then tries to fetch the website icon, and in doing so, it accidentally decrypts the password and sends it right back to the attacker.
Okay, I know this all sounds incredibly alarming, but let's all take a deep breath because context is absolutely everything here. So let's get really clear about when this stuff actually poses a risk.
The most important thing to know is that the risk isn't the same for everybody. If you're just a solo user storing your own passwords and keeping your app updated, you're in a much safer spot. The risk level really starts to climb when you use features that are all about convenience, things like account recovery or sharing passwords with your family or your team at work. Each one of those helpful features adds another layer of complexity, and that can mean another potential door for an attacker.
And here is the single biggest takeaway for your peace of mind. For any of this to happen, an attacker would need to pull off a complete, sophisticated takeover of the company's entire server infrastructure. That is not easy. And all the providers involved have said that there is zero evidence that these specific attacks have ever been used against customers in the real world.
So, now that these theoretical cracks have been exposed, what's the industry doing about it? And more importantly, what should we, as the users, be taking away from all of this?
So the good news is all the companies were told about this and they are working on fixes. But, this whole thing highlights a really tough spot they're in. On one hand, they have to roll out the latest, greatest security. But on the other hand, they can't just flip a switch and risk locking millions of people, including some massive corporate clients, out of their accounts, especially when they have to keep supporting older versions of their apps.
What this research really does is it makes us smarter consumers. It means we can move past just asking, is my stuff encrypted? Now we can ask much better questions. Like, how are you making sure public keys are legit? How do you protect me against a downgrade attack? Could a rogue server just add things to my vault without me knowing? These are the kinds of questions we now know to ask. And so, this leaves us with a really important final thought. Zero knowledge isn't some magic shield, it's a promise. And this research shows us that even the strongest promises can have fine print. It really forces us all to ask a much bigger question. In a world where convenience always seems to come with some kind of hidden risk, what does real digital trust even look like? And the answer, it seems, is that it's not a destination. It's a process of always questioning, always verifying, and always improving.